1, 2, 3, 4. Hey everybody, Gary here for Guitar Tricks, and in this video I'm going to show you how to play power chords all over the neck using all the different strings. So power chords have been at the heart of rock and roll since the beginning, with bands like Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, the Rolling Stones, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, Nirvana, Green Day, the list goes on. And what's great about them is they're pretty easy to play because you only need 2 notes to play them. So what we're going to do is play one riff. It sounds like this. And we're going to play that all over the neck using all of the different combinations of power chords. But before we get into it, please go ahead and click that subscribe button so that you get all the latest and greatest content from Guitar Tricks. All right, here we go. So we're going to start with power chords that have the root note on the low E string. So all a power chord is a root note, in this instance the note E, and the note that is up a fifth, an interval of a fifth from the note E. So if we count E, F, G, A, B, it would be the note E and B, like this. E and B. Now normal chords have a root, a third, and a fifth, but power chords just have the root and the fifth. This gives them a very open sound. They're neither major or minor because that third note is the one that makes it major and minor. So it's sort of like a glorified bass note. Instead of just playing one note, you add that fifth and it gives it that rock and roll sound, right? So we start here with an E power chord, and this is an open position power chord where we have the note E and the note B on the 2nd fret of the A string. And we play those 2 together. Now what's great about the open position is that the nut takes the place of our finger. So imagine I was putting my 3rd finger here and my finger was the nut, like that, right? Now if I slide that shape up 3 frets, there's our next power chord, right? So it's really the same shape if you just imagine that my finger was the nut. So here's the shape. Now we're on the power chord G. So we got our 1st finger on the 3rd fret of the low E string. That's the note G. And then the formula for the power chord from this root note is over 2, down 1. And there's our 5th. Root and 5th. So that becomes the notes G and D. There's our 2nd power chord. Now in order to get power chords successfully, you want to make sure your hand is parallel to the neck. It shouldn't be like this or else you'll have trouble stretching. So you want to kind of get your hand out in front, drop that thumb down, keep it relaxed straight up and down on the back of the neck, and then get that hand over like that. So there we have that G power chord. And then the next power chord is an A. So 5th fret on the low E and 7th fret on the A, because we go over 2, down 1. So we've got the E power chord, G, A, then back to G, E. And then the rhythm is going to be like this. E, E, G, G, A, G, G, G. E, E, G, G, A, G, G, G. E, so we could actually add another note to this chord, which is the octave. So we have root, 5th, and then another root. So that means we have E, B, and then E again. So now it has an even bigger sound. And then when we get to the G, we can add our pinky here. And that is the octave. So now we have G, D, and then G again. And then here, so we have. Now another thing that's really important with these power chords is muting the other strings. So on this one, I'm trying to get the angle of my first finger right so that I am getting these 3 notes, but that these other ones are muted. So if I angle my finger just the right way, I end up muting these other strings. And this way I don't have to be too accurate with my strumming. I could be a little freer. Because if I'm not muting those, then that's going to happen. So if I'm muting these correctly, I can get same here. I'm going to use the flesh of my first finger to mute the other 3 strings. And that way I can really rock out, as opposed to this. So that muting is a big part of this power chord rock technique. Now let's do power chords with the root on the A string. So now we're on this E on the 7th fret. And it looks exactly the same. We start on the root note, go over 2, down 1 for the 5th, down another 1 for the octave. We could either just play root and 5th, or root 5th octave. And our first finger is muting both the low E string with the very tip and the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, or 1st and 2nd with the flesh. So this way I could strum all 6 strings and only hear either these 2 notes or these 3. So you want to test yourself. And that way you can really rock out. Then we go up to the 10th fret for the G, and then up to the 12th fret for the A. So now we have. Or I could do the 3 finger with root, 5th, and octave. Now here's another one we could do on the A string. With this E, we can do the 5th right below it. So to find the 5th from a root note, just go right on top of it. So here's the root, E, and then the 5th, the B, is right below it. So I could just go. So we've got 7th fret on the E and the A string, up to the 10th fret, up to the 12th fret, back down to the 10th. Putting the riff together. Now let's find root on the D string. Here's one right here. We actually played that one earlier when we went root, 5th, root, right? So there's our E on the 2nd fret of the D string. Now if we want to play a 2-finger power chord, it's the same deal. We go over 2, down 1 to get the 5th. And then we would do the same thing. We're going to go up 3 frets to get from the E to the G. So then we would be on the 5th fret and the 7th, and then up another 2 on the 7th and the 9th for our A. Now if we want to make this a 3-finger power chord, we actually have to go down 1 from the 5th and over 1, down 1, over 1 to get the octave. This is because the guitar is tuned in intervals of a 4th, but there's an interval of a 3rd between the G and the B string, which throws everything off and makes life difficult as a guitar player. So it's not the same. So we have root, 5th, octave. And then if we put that together, and that actually sounds exactly the same as what we did here. Same exact notes. And again, I'm using my first finger to mute out the A string and the E string. I'm just gonna take special care not to strum the low E because there's no way I can mute that one. Now there's another power chord we can do here. If we think of this is the root, we can do the 5th right above it, which is what we did here, but without the low E string. So then we just have 5th on the bottom and then the root. So then we would have what's awesome about that one is you don't have to stretch your hand at all. So you have 5th and then root. So we're just going 2nd fret on the A and the D string, 5th fret, 7th fret, back to the 5th fret. All right, now let's see what happens if we find a root on the G string. So we've got a root right here. There's our note E. It's on the 9th fret of the G string. So now we could do the 5th right below, just like we did here, like this, where we put the 5th right above it. And then we can go 9, 12, 14, like this. Or we could do this. And now the formula from this root note on the G string is to go over 3 down 1. So instead of over 2 down 1, we go over 3 down 1, and that's root and 5th. So again, we have 9, 12, 14, back to 12. And then if we want to make that a 3-note power chord, we just go down 1 from that 5th to get the octave. So over 3 down 1 for the 5th, and then down another 1 for the octave. So now what's cool about this one is you can bar with your pinky. That's how I would do it. Awesome. Now, let's check out root on the B string. So here's our E on the B string. We've got on the 5th fret of the B, there's an E. Now we can do the root above it, but back 1. Remember this shape. We could just do those two, just these two. So we have 5th and root. So we're on that 5th fret with the root on the B string, E, and then the 5th is going to be on the 4th fret of the G string, 5th and then root. And then from this E, we're going to walk up 3 frets to get to the G, and then another 2 to get to the A. So we end up with 5th fret root on the B, 8th fret root on the B, and 10th fret root on the B. Putting the riff together. So these shapes obviously are way easier than these shapes. And they sound great too, so don't be afraid to play these ones where you have the 5th on the bottom and the root right below it, because those are the easy ones. All right, now let's look at root on the high E string. There's our root. And where's our 5th? Right below it. So we can go. So we just got the root, E with the open B string. There's our 5th, the open B. And then we move up to our G on the 3rd fret with the 5th right below, and then our A on the 5th fret with the 5th right below. All right, everybody, as you can see, power chords are a lot of fun. They're pretty easy to play. You can play them all over the neck. What I would challenge you to do is make up your own power chord riff. Start off with just one string. Find 3 notes on that one string that you like. For instance, let's say you like those. Turn them into power chords. Give them your own rhythm. Play them somewhere else. Next thing you know, you have your own song. All right, have a lot of fun with this one. Happy playing. As always, if you want to see more lessons like this, please click that subscribe button so that you get all the latest and greatest content from Guitar Tricks, and I will see you guys in the next lesson.